Hey, hey, hey.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank God it's Friday, TGIF. Thank you for tuning in, or even if you are watching the replay later. Thank you. Thank you for giving the time, energy, and effort to not only elevate yourself, but to elevate the channel, to spread the word that we can have good, happy, lasting relationships. So who are we? We are Jason and Tina Marie, life and relationship coaches, mentors, and motivational speakers on self-love, self-development, and transformation. Creators of Legendary Relationship and our truly life-changing 6-week relationship course, Elevate Your Marriage.
We are the host of Loving Beyond the I Do podcast, Principal Works Gear and Accessories, and last but not least, the authors of 8 Simple Ways to Awaken the Love and Intimacy of Your Relationship.
That's right. So we will get into today's topic right after this. All right. So remember, you can find us here on Fridays live, ready to talk love, relationships, self-development, and of course, our specialty, the 411 on marriage. And whether you're married or looking to get married or was previously married, that all is encompassed in that 411 on marriage. So you need to know, you need to be in the know.
Or if you just need to get yourself together so you can get married,
That's right.
this is the place to be. You can find all of our previous podcasts wherever you get your podcast delivered. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Listen, we're everywhere. Loving Beyond the I Do is the podcast. You can find us everywhere. Also, we're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. You can find us at Legendary Relationship on both platforms. Also, download our free copy of our ebook, which is...
You guys know he still needs to kind of...
I'm doing like 5 different things over here one time, but I'm making it work. Right. The 8 Simple Ways. Download it. It's free. Go to legendaryrelationship.com and download your free copy of 8 ways to
awaken the intimacy back up. All right, guys. So don't forget, you can get, Jason, tell them where they can get all the info, everything.
Everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everything you can get at legendaryrelationship.com/info. You get a whole list of everything we have, all our platforms, everything. So go to legendaryrelationship.com/info.
So you can also, like we said, you can get the podcast, you can get the Friday Night Lives, you can get the gear. So a couple of you guys asked, where can you get our shirt? You can get the gear. You can get some blogs. You can get the free ebook.
Yep.
You can get, the tips on how to see if you're, what was it? What was the name of the free download for?
See if you're for emotional intimacy.
Yes, for emotional intimacy. So sometimes we think it's not us. It's our, sometimes we think it's our mate that's emotionally
unavailable,
immature.
Available.
Whatever. So go do the assessment and see who's actually, if you're ready for love and intimacy. All right, so we have a special guest today, guys, and I am going to try to stay calm because when I get excited, I get excited. All right, we have with us a very special lady who's coming to talk to us about all the things we've already said, right? Elevation, self-love, self-development, and giving it to you straight. All right, Jason, tell us a little bit about our guest.
All right. Greta Counts is a passionate thought leader, spiritual teacher, minister, transformational speaker who empowers others to change their behavior through self-awareness. Her career in coaching and training in the personal growth and professional development industry spans 22 plus years.
Yes.
She is a mother of beautiful adult twin daughters, an Amazon best-selling author, Mirror Works 21-day self-love guide, licensed metaphysical practitioner, Hay House accredited Heal Your Life licensed workshop facilitator, certified life coach, and spiritual leader at Unity South Atlanta.
So if you're in Atlanta tuning in, go visit.
She enjoys roller skating, waterfall hiking, painting, and photography.
All right, so let's bring our guest in. I can't wait.
Yes.
All
Hey,
right.
Coach Greta.
All
Yes,
right.
hello, everybody. How are you?
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
How are you?
Yes,
We got some comments. So let me
I
can
am
invite Jessica to.
wonderful, fabulous, and so excited to be here.
All right, we're even more excited. I know I am. I
Yes.
can't wait to get into this conversation. So let us say get some hellos. Regina says,
Yeah.
"Good evening, Jason and Tina."
Good
Good
evening,
evening, Regina. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
All right, Annette Whittington says, "Good evening, Annette. Good to see you again."
Yes, welcome back.
Yes. Lavanya says, Lavanya is watching from where? Cracker
Crackle
Barrel.
Barrel's having dinner. You know what? I gotta love Lavanya. No matter where she's at in the
She's-
world, she's tuning in. I
That's
appreciate
right.
that. Thank you so much, Lavanya.
She states that everywhere she goes, the phone goes. All right. Regina says, I meant to
That's
say
hilarious.
good. That's all right.
Yeah, we
But
got
it's going to be a gold evening. That's
Yep.
right. All right. And then Angela Vaughn says, good evening, Angie.
Hey, Angie, how are you?
Thanks for tuning in. All right, guys. So we're just going to dive right into the conversation because we have, this is our continued theme, right? Understanding that in order to make our relationships work, that the elevation must begin with us. We must take a deep dive into who we are and what we're carrying with us. So I know oftentimes, Coach Greta, we talk about baggage, right?
Yes.
And most of the time, so I don't have a feedback or anything. Can you hear me? Because sometimes, can you hear me? Okay.
I can.
Okay. So most of the time, people can only see the baggage of other people. So, how do we get people to be aware of the baggage that they're carrying around and then how to release it in order to receive better?
Okay, what a great question. And boy, do you like to dive in. You just wanted to jump into 12 feet, okay?
Yes.
Woo, that's a great question, a deep question, and it is a perfect question for the kind of work that I do with people. I'm a human performance coach. And one of the things that I like to help people to do is to be able to shift their behavior. And I believe that the best way for you to shift your behavior is for you to consider that every person that you interact with on a regular basis is a mirror reflecting back to you yourself.
Okay,
Because,
wow.
yeah, because what happens is this is the way I believe that the infinite allows us to understand what's happening within us. So if there's someone that I am crazy about and I just love everything about them, that's me being reflected back to me. I can see the qualities in them that actually I have. Likewise, if there is someone that gets on my last, that annoys me to no end, that gets under my skin, then they are also reflecting some part of me that I may be unaware of and in denial about. So I personally treat every relationship I have, that's the one with my daughters, the one with my mother, the one with my closest friends. I treat all of those relationships as mirror reflections back to me. So
And
when I
so-
see someone doing something that drives me nuts, then the first thing I do instead of pointing the finger is I say, first of all, how do I describe what I'm seeing? If I'm annoyed, if I'm frustrated, I like to label it.
okay.
So then when I label it, the next question I ask myself is this, and this is a deep question. In what way am I being that way with myself?
Okay.
That's the question. So if someone is frustrating, I feel like they are frustrating me, then I need to take an inner look to see what I am doing that is frustrating to me. I might be saying I'm going to work out every day, but I don't. I might be saying I'm going to eat better, but I don't. I might be flustered by some other part of my life, but it's an opportunity for me to clean myself up. So I see all relationships as mirror reflections back to me to show me that. So it keeps me from pointing the finger. And it keeps me cleaning myself up, because once you clean something up in yourself, you don't see that in the other person.
Okay.
That's how
It
it
no
works.
longer comes back. So I have a question. So in continuance of that, I know oftentimes in relationships, right?
Mhm.
Because that's what we talk about. In relationships, what happens is that I believe that we create that relationship that we're in, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, right?
Yes.
And so oftentimes when it gets to that point, like you said, you're frustrated with your partner, you're frustrated with your husband or your wife, and you keep going around the same merry-go-round. But we happen to say, well, I've been praying for that person to change and they just won't change. So how do we let people know that it's not that other person really that needs to change? So what you said is they're only reflecting something in you that you really need to look at. So how do people really kind of so we heard what you're saying, but how do you do that, right? How do you really take ownership for your stinky stuff?
Okay, great question. And I love that you're all about what are the action items that I need to
Right.
do,
Yep.
Yep.
right? Where does the rubber meet the road?
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you a personal story. I was dating a guy, and everything, you know how it is in the beginning, is hunky dory. It's
Yep.
just
Yep.
Yep.
hunky dory, right? Honeymoon phase, hunky freaking dory, right?
Everything. This is it.
And
Everything's going right.
yes, yes. And then I started to notice little things, right? It's like, oh, maybe that was that day. And then the day turns into a month, and you're like, I don't like this, and you start thinking about what are your deal breakers. And so I had my exit speech, that I was going to say, because I was about to get up out of that relationship. I'm like, this
Wow.
is not
You already
working for
got your
me.
exit speech?
I did.
Well,
I mean, we were together for a minute. Okay. We were
Okay.
together for a minute. And I thought, well, I'm just going to, say this was great. It's a little speech. It's nice. It doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. And he was going to come over. We are going to go out on a date. And something came up that didn't happen. So I sat down at the fireplace. It was in the wintertime. And I was sitting next to the fireplace, and I just had this legal pad, not a 8x11. I had that long pad.
yeah, yeah.
And so I sat next to the fireplace, and I got a pen out, and I started writing out all the things that I could not stand about him anymore.
Ooh.
And it was a long list. I kid you not. It was as long as that legal pad.
Wow.
And then after that, I just kind of chilled. I got me a cup of tea, and I was just sitting there. And what came up in my spirit was, in what way are you this way with yourself?
Mm.
And so on the other side of the page, I started saying, oh, wow, because I was accusing him of I don't know, he was disheveled the way he was dressing. And then I was looking across at my office, which was as disheveled as he was dressing, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yep.
everything that I was labeling on him,
Him. You saw
I
somewhere
could
in you.
I saw somewhere in my own experience. And I thought, wow, this is deep. So after I had this list and everything, I took a walk, because that's enough to make you go, wait a minute, because it feels better to point the finger. It just
Finger,
feels
Oh,
right.
it
so much
does.
better,
Right. You're
right?
like,
Yes,
wait
it
a minute.
does.
It's not about me. It's about him. What's
Yeah,
going
yeah.
on here?
I'm like,
Right.
yeah. So this long list, I took a walk and I came back and I got in the mirror, and I just sat in the mirror. And I just said, so what's up? Like, what's up with you doing this, with you doing that? You know, um, when you feel this way, what's happening? And then I wrote out some affirmations. So for every single um, thing that I was accusing him of, that I also found out was something I possessed, I
Mm.
decided to write positive affirmations about them. And so I took a nap because this was a lot. Trust me, this was a deep emotional drive. I'm like,
Right. Right.
so something is telling me it's me. I don't agree with that, but okay, I'm going to go with that. So I wrote out the affirmations and I took a nap and I got up and I got in front of the mirror and I used those affirmations. Now, here's
Okay.
what's funny. So a week later, he called,
Mhm.
wanted to go on a date. I still had a plan to break up with him and all of that.
Right.
And what was so funny was when he showed up, those things weren't there anymore.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
And he said to me at dinner, I want to apologize to you. I've had a lot on my mind. I've been stressed. I had this, and I kind of let myself go. I haven't been doing this and I haven't been doing that. And it was amazing because
He
90% of that list disappeared because I cleaned me up. And I
and
didn't have a
wow.
conversation with him about what I wrote on the paper, but he showed up cleaned up. So
Wow.
Life mirrors back to you. Ernest Holmes says that life reflects back to you what you are reflecting in it. And I think that if people would do their work, that's a lot of inner work. I don't recommend you do it in one day because it was a lot.
Right.
I'm spiritually strong though, but
Right.
it
Mhm.
takes
Right.
a minute. But after that, what I decided to do was I decided to look back at all of my relationships, the old ones, any relationship, any friendship I had that didn't work out. And I
Mm-hmm.
just thought about those things. And then I realized that those people were mirroring to me, but I just canceled people because
Right.
if I wasn't ready to see it, then I couldn't see it. But now I had this tool that was directly related to me. It helped me improve my relationships with everybody I have a relationship with when I
Wow.
chose to see it that way. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but that was just you changing. Excuse me. That was you making that conscious decision to
Yes.
actually take ownership and the things that was going on in your life. What you saw in the outer was actually going on in the inner. So
Yes.
you just had to kind of clean that up. So, and that's
Yes.
what we try to get people to do. We try to get them to look at
Well, not only
themselves.
people ourselves,
Right,
even
right,
even
right.
me,
Everybody
right?
does,
Because we all have a tendency of doing
Yeah,
exactly
for sure. We
exactly.
quick to
Yes.
point the finger.
Absolutely.
'Cause
Yeah,
we're
you
fine.
are.
I am. I am. I'm very seldom wrong.
I love it.
So, because I'm just gonna keep going
Well,
because
you are.
so in addition to that, oftentimes some of the things that we have when we say cleaning up the baggage, right, are things that happened to us when we were younger
Yes.
that we
Mhm.
can't either let go of or forgive, or we just really don't know how to let it go. So, how do we clean up that baggage of, what you saw in your parents' relationship? Or how do you clean up that baggage of this happened to me, by this guy or by this lady 10 years ago, right? That baggage that it's there
Yeah.
and we carry it, but we
Mhm.
don't always unpack it. We just kind of carry it and we know it's there.
Right. I like to say that the past only exists in our minds because it's clearly not happening in the moment.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I also like to say that the point of power is in the present moment. So we can't create a better next moment until we it's based on the moment that we're currently in. And when we're looking back, I like to say people like to look in a rearview mirror, right?
Hmm.
Instead of
Hmm.
looking in a mirror where you can actually see your face, because in a rearview mirror, you can see what's behind you, but you actually aren't even looking at your face,
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
when you're in a car. And so it's very necessary to identify what it is you're feeling. You got to be honest with yourself, though. That's what it really calls for, is some real honesty. And I think that sometimes this is what I think people think if they hold on to something, then it can't happen to them anymore. It's like, well, if I hold on to this,
Okay.
then that can never enter into my space again. But when what you're holding on to is holding on to you, you know? And letting go is not, I think people feel like if I let this go, I'm condoning someone's behavior.
Right.
But
Right.
that's not what that does. I like to say that letting go is not giving up or giving in. Letting go is giving over to the infinite within. It's an opportunity for you to just release it and to allow your spirit to do what it needs to do with it, but it frees you up. And I think some people don't know what to do when they don't have that story, when they don't have
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
Right.
they
Yeah.
want to, the story just keeps them in, they feel like it makes them powerful, but it actually renders them powerless. Yeah.
As
Yeah.
they're still giving away their power to someone else, to the
Right.
Yes.
incident or to the situation or to the person.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Do we have any other comments, sweetheart?
Oh yeah, we got one from Sandra said.
All right.
She said, "Say it ain't so, Coach. When you have to look at yourself, you have. Oh yeah, when you start talking about looking at yourself, it's
And, it's funny. So Sandra says that because you said we have to be honest,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
if Jason is constantly, and I'm just using us as an example, but if he's constantly doing something that is really bothering me and that
Mhm.
I've spoken to him about and that I feel like, like I said, we have created this relationship, which means that no matter what I say, we're still interacting the same way until I change, right? But if I'm constantly badgering him about something that I just don't like, how do I see myself in that, right? Because like you said, we really do have to be honest. But how do we really see ourselves in it? Because some people may not connect the dots. Some
Right.
people may say, no, that's definitely him, has nothing to do with me. How do we connect those dots? How do we get honest?
Right. So if first of all, somebody has to be willing. I like to say if you're willing to see the truth, whatever the truth is, because it doesn't mean, because I'll tell you this too, just because I said earlier that someone else may be mirroring you, it doesn't mean that they don't need to change something they're doing. That's not
Right,
what that
Right.
means.
right. Exactly.
But here's what it does: it keeps the person who is accusing someone from using their energy. Because if Jason is doing something and you are constantly saying, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, then he doesn't get allowed the space to do what he needs to do to be better.
To change in that
Because
area.
Gotcha.
because you're nagging, and now he is in a state of resistance, not to what you're requesting, but to you constantly asking him to do it right now. So now he can't even do it on his own. He's doing it for you. And no one really needs to do anything for someone else. You need to do something because you want to do it. So if
Wow.
you
Those some
spend
powerful words. Wow.
yeah, so if you use your 24 hours a day, 7 days a week cleaning up yourself, then what happens is there leaves this gap. So Jason gets to have his own point of realization, like, because now your mouth isn't moving and now he can hear the sound of your voice in his heart. And now it's like, wow, she mentioned that and she hasn't said anything else about it. I need to really think about that.
Mm-hmm.
But see, when we keep coming back and talking and talking and talk, he can't ever hear the sound in himself. He can
Right.
only hear the noise that somebody else is
Else
that
is
you're
giving.
putting out. Right. So it's like people need the space to hear what you said, process what you said, and say, you know what, maybe she's right. Maybe I do need to think about changing.
Wow.
Wow.
Maybe it does. She expressed to me that it hurts her feelings. And because that's where, to me, where compassion comes in, because sometimes there's no room for compassion, because
Yep.
we think,
Yep.
I want you to change, you're not changing, and now
Mm-hmm.
where do we go from here? But we don't give people the space in the same way that God does to have our own moments of realization and our own epiphanies, where, because in the silence of not hearing your voice, he can hear from within.
Right.
I do, because what you're saying, he probably knows he needs to change it.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
All of us know when we need to change something.
And we're not gonna, like you said, he's not gonna change if I'm constantly nagging him, because now he doesn't want to do it for me. He
Right.
wants to do it on his own terms.
Right.
Yes.
And his own realization, and that
Yes.
and if he really wants to change, right? So
Yes.
absolutely, good point. Good
Yeah.
point.
And
Do you have any
let's be
questions?
clear. I want to say this too.
Mhm.
We need to understand that change takes time. Change is not, if people could just change on a dime, they would. Change is change. I mean, it is like, it's like, wow, I've been doing that for 49 years and now I need to not do it. And most of us have been shaped by our experiences before we were
Yep.
married, in our in our families,
Yep.
however and some of that helps us to feel safe. So sometimes
Yeah.
people do things to help them feel safe. It's not toward you, it's because they need to feel safety, right? And it doesn't mean that it's right, but we got to allow people a chance to have that moment to to process, and change just takes time. I mean, it just does.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
always use the analogy of like an onion. You have to peel back all the layers just to get to the center
Yeah.
of really the core of who you are.
Yes.
Because there's so many coping mechanisms that you deal with just to get through life. Depends
Yes.
on what you've gone through and all. So yeah,
Mhm.
it takes a lot, and that's why change takes such a long time.
And
Mhm.
people do oftentimes think that I need to change, and I've changed, so now okay. So oftentimes the person may think, okay, I've changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I've decided that I'm going to change, and now I need to see that immediate change in someone else.
Yes.
So, like you said, people think you can change on a dime. Okay. And or it's superficial change, right?
Right.
So I'm
Yes.
going to pretend as though I know I need to change. So I'm going to change my behavior, hoping and expecting the other person to react differently when they really haven't changed on the inside. So how do you address that one?
Well, I like to say that, change is change. I mean, I believe you can change. Really, what we want to aspire to is transformation.
Right.
Right.
Okay. And so I say that awareness, helps people to start to change, but self awareness leads to transformation. So when we become aware that, oh, wow, this hurts her feelings, I need to not do this. Now we are like opening ourselves to change. But when we become self aware that when I do this to her, it makes her feel this way, it's a little deeper. Now we
Mm-hmm.
can the change will lead to transformation. And when you transform yourself, you don't change back. So
Exactly.
sometimes people's change is temporary
Mm-hmm.
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 because they are doing it contingent on you doing what you need to do. And so
Exactly.
all of that is
Exactly.
that's not real change, and it's also inauthentic. It's not authentic. That's not an authentic move at all. We want to change because we want to change to be better people, and the benefit is that your partner gets to benefit from it. That's really how
Right.
that works. Yes.
All right, any more comments or no? All right, so let's dive into this self-love. So how does self-love play a part in that? So
Oh,
what are you advocating? Let's hear this self-love. All right.
wow.
So how do we start on that ladder of self-love? What does it
Okay.
mean? What does it look like?
Okay. So we're gonna go with segue. It's a good segue, Tina. You're just great. Okay. So
Well,
let me
thank
say
you.
that because we just talked about change. And what I tell people when it comes to self-love is you don't need to change yourself, you need to love yourself.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
So let's say we have this couple and we want that person to change, and that person is like, I want to change, but I don't know why I'm not able to change. If that person is practicing or on the journey of self-love and they're aware of their journey, the way it works is if you practice self-love, then change is inevitable. But when you beat yourself up about needing to change, it's hard to get to the love piece because you're kind of beating yourself up because you're
Right.
not changing. So when I practice self-love, like I told a client yesterday, she was telling me all these things that she's not doing and she knows better. And she's like, why can't I stop myself? I see myself scrolling on Instagram when I should be doing this. I see myself doing these things and I just can't stop myself. And I told her we did an exercise. I had her write at the top of her paper, because I love myself. Because I love myself, dot, dot, dot. So when you write that down and you start thinking, well, because I love myself, I'm going to eat the fruit instead of the chocolate. Because I love myself, I'm going to walk every day for 20 minutes instead of sitting in front of the television, watching Netflix for hours and hours and hours. Because I love myself. So when you realize, when you're training yourself to love yourself, because you do have to teach yourself to love yourself. It's not a given. None of us were
Mm-hmm.
really taught
Sure.
to love ourselves,
Absolutely.
because people, generations before thought it was a selfish act. It meant you were being self-absorbed. It was wrong for you to love yourself.
That's
But
very true.
the Bible
Mm-hmm.
tells us to love your neighbor as yourself. And most of us aren't kind to our neighbors because we're not kind to ourselves. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's go back to the change statement. So when Coach Greta wants to change, I go inward and I say, okay, I want this to be different. I want my health to be different. So because I love myself, I'm going to eat what is going to benefit me. So when I eat what benefits me, I naturally won't eat what doesn't benefit me. And that is the change, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't have
Yeah.
to focus on change. I need to focus on loving myself. Does that
So
make
let's take
sense?
that does
Right.
make
So
sense.
so you're saying if you love yourself, change is inevitable.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so that process of self-love, how important is it?
Oh,
So not just in relationships, but just as a person, how important, because you're right, most of the times we haven't been taught to love ourselves, right? So we pick up things here and there, and we pick up coping mechanisms, and we do things for love or out of love, but we're still missing the mark on self-love, right? So
Yes.
how really important is it in any relationship? Because you said, I know earlier in the conversation you said by doing this, it changed all your relationships.
Yes.
So okay,
Yes.
so
Okay, so here we go. The most important relationship that we all need to have is the one you have with yourself. It is the foundation of every other relationship,
all right.
whether it's with your pet or with your parents or with your colleagues or with your coworkers. We cannot give to someone else what we don't already possess.
Mm, mm.
And likewise, you cannot expect someone else to give you something you're not willing to give yourself.
Absolutely. Okay. All right.
Yeah, if
And you,
you're not willing to love yourself first, then somebody else can only love you to the degree that you love yourself. And many times, I will say this, I think a lot of women, I'm going to say women, people are probably going to say that's not true, that's not true. But a lot of women a lot of women want their man to really love them, but they don't love themselves. And I'm always intrigued by that because, people go out and they get hair and lashes and nails and purses and shoes, but they don't look in the mirror. I have done infinite workshops, mirror work workshops for years, since 2012, really. And people get a mirror and they burst into tears. They don't ever look at themselves, but they're doing all of this stuff for somebody else to look at them, to give them something they won't give themselves. And a man or anybody can only love you to the degree that you love yourself. It's going to have a lid on it, because if you don't love yourself enough, because they're only going to mirror you. That's what's going to
Mhm.
happen.
so
Even
what
if
you go ahead.
so, even if they did love you to a different degree, even more,
Yes.
you wouldn't be able to accept it because you don't see it.
Exactly. So they won't feel it to the degree that the other person is giving it, because it's got a lid on it.
Right.
So here's the deal. When I adore myself, somebody else can adore me. When I cherish myself, someone else can cherish me. When I compliment myself, someone else, and I can take it in and I can really receive it to the degree that they're giving it. But if I am not loving toward myself, I speak unkindly to myself, because we speak to
Mm.
ourselves way more than we actually say out of our mouths. And so if we feel unworthy, inadequate, like we're not enough, you're going to keep needing this person to keep telling you and doing for you to help convince you that they love you. Well, the reason you're not sure that they do is because you can only receive it to the degree that you love yourself.
Wow. Because I was gonna. So that just takes me to the level of if people are in right, because we always hear, well, I keep attracting the same person, and I don't want that, right? Or I keep experiencing the same relationships, but I don't want that,
Mhm.
right? And so I want to take it deeper, because we always hear, well, you're attracting it because that's what you have in your aura, right? That's
Mhm.
your energy, that's who you are. You're not loving yourself in those areas. Let's take it even deeper, like, if you can, right? I want to give people something that they can really substantially work with, because like you said, that superficial thing, when people are trying to change but they're not transforming, so
Yes.
therefore they're attracting the same thing. How do we get to understand that you keep getting these same people, the same relationship, these same arguments with your husband or wife that you're in now, because of what?
That's a great question. And I mean, it's because you're not willing to give yourself the attention. You're not willing to allow yourself to heal. You're not allowing yourself to see what's going on in what's buried inside of you. Because, like I said, I've been doing workshops for a long time, and people come and we expose ourselves. It's a
Hmm.
place
Hmm.
for you to open yourself up. And I don't think people understand that their emotional wounds go way back. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the first 5 years of our lives is the foundation of where everything starts. And most of us don't remember what transpired from 1 to 5. So those things are the things that shape how we navigate life. And then on top of that, you have incidences that happen with parents and clergy and,
Yep.
society, and those
Yeah.
things are all piled on. So the fact that people think they're just going to get dressed up, go meet somebody, and marry them and live happily ever after is really bananas, because at the end of the day, you're bringing everything with you. And the baggage you have, I want to say this, is really a treasure. I know that when I realized, I took a deep dive and kept taking a deep dive and a deep dive to find out what was going on in here, because I just wanted to live a peaceful life. I wanted to
Right.
experience inner peace and joy and happiness and unbridled success. And it seems like there were things in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my work. I have been doing my work. I have the courage to do my work, and I still do my work all the time. And in doing the work, you find out, wow, there's so many layers, as Jason said earlier, that you just got to keep peeling. And the truth is, we really don't stop doing that until we exit stage left. There's just, I mean, yeah, because
Right.
people think they're gonna do something and then they're gonna be better, and then that's just it. It's not
Mhm.
true. Like, the more you uncover, the more you discover. But I decided to see those things as buried treasures. It's like, wow, this is the point of origin of when I first felt this. This
Mhm.
is the place where this first happened to me. And then I decided I was never going to let this happen to me again. So I
Right.
put up a
Right.
wall. So I closed the window. I did all these things. And then now I want to meet somebody. And I just think that it's supposed to be, a certain way. We've got to take a dive, and we've got to see what's in there, and we've got to do our work. There's just no way around it. But the beautiful thing about it is, you will find out what a magnificent, loving, dynamic being of light and love you are when you do your work. It's really wonderful. It
I
really
was gonna.
is.
It truly is, and I was just gonna say, I know when Jason and I talked about, we talked about people loving themselves, and oftentimes because we weren't taught that, people think it's wrong, right? You are conceited. You're not supposed to love yourself. So how do we help people to understand there's you have to love yourself, but you don't, you can't be, some people think they're loving themselves, but they're really not. So how if you can get to what I'm trying to understand,
Well,
like
yeah,
I
like
we
do.
think,
so we have a person that like love themselves, but they're trying to take from everyone else. Well, I'm
Yeah.
going to ask for this because the old person didn't ask for this, and I didn't get it. So now I'm just going to be
right,
brass, and I'm going to ask for everything.
right, I'm not
Right.
gonna be, I got stepped on, I got hurt, so now
Yeah.
I'm gonna be so outspoken that everyone knows, and so I'm loving me, I'm not gonna let you hurt me, but that's not the self-love we're talking about. So
Yeah.
help us to understand that it's okay to self-love, and self-love is important, and what is the difference, right?
Well, the difference is the love that they are willing to give themselves, and it isn't transactional. Okay, so it's not, I'm going to ask you for this and you're going to give me this and that. I commend them for learning to speak up for themselves, but it doesn't mean that someone owes you something. In fact, when people take the self-love journey, you'll find that it's a very quiet place. It's because it's not about what someone else is going to give you. It
Give
is
you.
about what you're
Hmm.
going to give yourself. And no one else is included. This is the moments when you are with yourself, by yourself. What am I thinking? How am I feeling? And mirror work is a powerful tool. Let me tell you, a person that can sit in the mirror, I always recommend a handheld mirror in the beginning where you're only looking at your eyes, and when you look into your own eyes, you see so much in there. The eyes are the windows to the soul. But generally, what happens when I do a mirror work workshop is, the first thing that happens is people just wail up with tears, because inside of there is the pain and all the stuff that they have
that we don't want to
endured.
face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So, that's
So
what it
that's a
is.
great segue. So tell us about Mirror Work. So this is Coach Greta's book, Greta
Yes.
Count. So tell us about your book.
Wow. Well, the book is a 21-day self-love experience, and it's just an opportunity to get people to scratch the surface to
Mm-hmm.
start doing mirror work. I mean,
Okay.
mirror work is so transformational. I have been doing it since I was about 5 years old, quite
Okay.
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I was doing it at such an early age, I was an only child. And a lot of times I wanted to have conversations with friends. I didn't have any siblings. And instead of having imaginary friends, I decided to just use my mirror. But when I was in that mirror, what I realized is mirror work really, this is the truth of the matter. It awakens you to the God presence within yourself. And why I say that is because you'll start to see and notice this person that most of us don't acknowledge. Most of us don't acknowledge ourselves. We don't say I love you. We don't say I forgive you. We
Right.
don't say it's okay that you missed the mark on that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that with that person in the mirror. And when we don't do it, it's a big miss. But what I have found over the years is that it awakened me to the God presence within myself, which helped me to love myself more because I realized I'm a being of love and light. I was created by the divine. There are infinite things to love about myself. And why wouldn't I be good to myself? Why would I eat something or drink something that I know is poisoning my system? When you do mirror work, you don't want to mistreat yourself. You watch how you talk to yourself. Like in general, a person might lose their keys and then they call themselves names. They are disappointed in themselves. I mean, something as small as that. Or you go somewhere, you say yes to somebody when you know you didn't want to say yes to something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you dishonor yourself. You do things with other people. I say there's your essential self and your social self. A lot of times your
Mm-hmm.
social self gets into trouble because it's trying to cater to the other people.
Right.
But when
Yep.
you love yourself, you can say, you know what, Tina, thank you so much for inviting me, but I'm good. Maybe in 2 weeks I will do that, or maybe we can catch up, whenever.
Right.
But me having the ability to be able to say yes to myself, that's self-love.
Right.
And let me tell you, 90 some percent of people don't know how to do that. Most people do
Yep.
things they don't want to do with people they don't want to do it with because they don't practice self-love, and then they end
Right.
up resenting the person later
Right.
because I did this for you, I did that for you, but
Right.
you
Mm.
didn't have to do that for another person, and that is it's a problem in relationships. Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So since we're talking about the book and you said it's a 21-day self-love, right? Self-love experience.
Yes.
So I asked Jason when because I purchased your book and I started it and actually my daughter, so we're kind of sharing one copy. I have to get her a copy. She's like, Mom, I thought you said you was gonna give it back. I was on day 3. I'm still on day 3 and it's 5 days later, right? And so so I was like, oh, I'm gonna get it back to you. But
Yes.
what I noticed is that Jason also joined me, right?
Yes.
Because self-love is important. And when I asked him, I said, when I brought this book home, because you were at the women's conference, I said, when I brought this book home, what did you think? He was like,
Yes.
what do you mean? I was like, did you think it was just for women? And he was like, yes. He was like, when I saw it, I thought it was, something that you're gonna do. It had
Yes.
nothing to do with me. But
Yes.
in reading it, he has come to realize that it has nothing to do with gender. So what
Right.
do you say because we all have baggage, right? We
Yes.
all have experience. We all have things in our past that we're constantly looking at in the
Mhm.
rear view mirror instead
Yes.
of the handheld mirror.
Yes.
So what do you say about that, your book? Who is your book geared to and why?
Wow. Wow. That is a great question. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. And it
Absolutely.
is for anybody who is a spiritual being having a human experience. And, you know, uh, I am a coach in a corporate coach, an executive coach. I coach a lot of people, and sales has always been my background. And I have always encouraged people to do mirror work, even in those trainings. And a lot of times the men say, surely you don't want me to look in a mirror. One guy told me, this ain't charm school. This is not charm school. I was I retired from the military. I'm not looking in the mirror.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. It's the ego. Right.
Yes, it is.
It is. But I have done a actual mirror work workshop with men only before. Yeah, I did it years ago, and I plan to do another one because what has happened is people are like, wow, I didn't know that I was angry with my mother, and I didn't know that, somebody said something to me a long time ago and I never forgot it, and I didn't. So it is a unisex book for sure.
Yep.
It's definitely not based on gender. It's spiritual beings having a human experience, and all of us can relate to feeling resentment and guilt and shame and blame, and all of us experience feelings of inadequacy and low self-worth and low self-esteem. That has no color, it has no nationality, it has no
Absolutely.
gender, it is non-specific. And so yeah, it's a tool that can be used by anyone.
Yeah, and because I asked that because there's a lot of men, right? And so
Yeah.
I normally say I'm usually approached by men that says, "Wow, I can't find a good woman," right? Or
Yes.
women say the
I
same
think that's
thing,
the
vice
first
versa,
line. Yeah.
right? But my thing is that as a man, they're not usually taught to do that work, right?
Yeah.
One, we're not taught self love,
Right.
and
Yes.
two, it's like there's no way, like you said, for sure, you don't want me to look in this mirror and talk something good to myself when I'm supposed to be masculine, right?
Right.
Because I think men are looking, just like women, men are
Mhm.
looking for love in all the wrong places. They're looking for someone to love them, they're looking for someone to fill them up, when the truth is that you need to start with the self-love of filling yourself up.
Yes.
Yeah, speak to that, especially. And so I know I'm man being a
No,
little sexist
no.
right
You
here.
know what? The men need to hear it. Because the problem is we're not in tune with our inner self.
Yes.
We're all outer,
Yes.
right? We
Yeah.
try to fix the
External.
world. We try to do this. We try to be strong for other people, but we very seldom self-reflect.
Yeah.
So we end up depressed or having other issues because of that.
Yes.
Because of all of this, we're carrying all this weight.
Or you
So-
just push it down, right?
Right, well, we push it
it's-
down, and then
right.
you start having other health issues due to stress and all this other stuff, right?
Or
Mhm.
health issues and relationship issues.
Oh yeah,
because
for
you're not
sure,
even
both.
facing-
Right? Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
Yes.
Because men don't really believe that they're the problem.
Yes.
yeah.
Some women don't either. But when I
Right.
say that, I mean like, being not emotionally attached, or maybe they didn't have their mom that was nurturing to them, so they don't know how to receive that or be that. So that's why I said let's talk in terms of men, because I think some men really
Yes.
struggle in this area
Majority.
of self-love.
Yeah,
Mhm.
majority.
Mhm. They do.
Yep.
They do. And I think that they just have to be open to it. And I have a lot of men who do it, who do mirror work.
Yeah. They should.
And
Yeah.
yeah. So I just think that, and I think that I like that we're having this discussion, because I'm going to make it a point to make that a market that I give more attention to. But I do get people sending me messages, and many of them got gifted the book.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have used the book. And then, of course, in the sales arena where I have been training for years, is usually men, it's mostly men. And they are, they do it with resistance.
Right.
But later on, they come back and say, wow, that was different. I never did anything like that before. My wife is now seeing something different about me because I'm taking a look at myself. Yeah.
See? That's it.
I'm glad you said that. Because I was saying, I was thinking to myself as you were talking, when we talk about they're men saying, now my wife or someone else sees something in me, right?
Mhm.
How do, when men are, the question came and went, right? So many questions, so many
I
times.
know
Right?
how
So
that feels.
I'm really thinking about men, because when they do that, how does releasing and being aware at the same time, right? Because once they're aware, and now they can kind of work on that self-love process, which means they have to release some of that old baggage. How does it just change the whole dynamics of themselves and with others, right? How does it, because men can't see that. I don't need any self-love. I'm good. How do they, if you could speak to that on them just tapping into that understanding of self-love just opens up a whole new different realm of possibilities in their lives.
It does. What I have seen happen is they become more aware, so they become more thoughtful about their actions.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, when they get it, they got it, and they actually move a little quicker than women do.
I can believe that. I can
Yeah,
believe that.
yeah,
Men are
yeah,
just much simpler.
Right. Once we understand, we good, we can move.
They don't
yeah.
complicate things. When
Nope.
if they do, they don't understand it. If they
Right.
understand it, they kind of apply it.
Yes, absolutely. So that's what I've seen, that, they're like, oh, hadn't thought about that. Now that you brought that to my attention, I will actually, be more attentive, be more mindful. And then they usually, cut to the chase and just start behaving differently. I
Mhm.
think I think they can shift their behavior a little quicker oftentimes than women.
So when you say shift, is that changing or is that transforming? Because sometimes men, because talking about those habits, right?
Yes.
Those conditions that we have been conditioned, where a man doesn't show weakness, a man is not supposed to show emotions, a man is
Mhm.
not supposed to talk about their feelings. I'm supposed to be the strong one. I'm supposed to be this. And on and on and on and on. That men, this burden that they have to carry, you know, how does it address that, right? Are we changing just a little bit, or when you said men shift, do they usually kind of, because everybody has baggage, and
Oh
so when
yeah.
they change, yeah, so when they change and they usually shift a little faster, do you find that they're breaking their old habits, or are they quicker to kind of just slide in and out of it?
I think that they shift, which leads to the change, which leads to the transformation. And I
Okay.
think what helps, this is the part that helps when you're in a relationship like you guys are, it's a co-creative process. So here's what helps. So the guy gets it, you give them the heads up, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna, even if it's just to shut you up, they're gonna go ahead and do it.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, there's something to this. And they start making change, but because the woman sometimes is just, doing this,
Yeah.
You're
then
not
they're
changing
like,
quick enough.
yes.
Right,
And
right.
so what they can do is go back in a shell or in a cave, and decide,
Oh.
so sometimes it doesn't work. Women have the mouth almighty, we talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And sometimes we can talk them right back into old patterns. So when you're in a relationship, it's a co-creative process and everything does take time. But when the shift is happening, it's a good idea to commend them. Hey, I noticed, that you did whatever, every little bit of thing, you shine light on it, you shine light on it. And, they're going to do, that's what I think is kind of cool about men. They're kind of simple like that,
Yeah.
not in an offensive way, but just like,
Right.
oh, she loved it when I did this, so they do it 100 more times because they don't have to think about it,
Yep. Yep.
Right. So they have to,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yes,
They do it 100 more times, so they don't have to
Yep.
think about it.
Mhm.
yes,
Absolutely.
yes, yes.
So how do we get? And it's good you said that. So you just mentioned a very good point, right? So either male or female, they start this change, they start reading, they start on that transformation journey, and then your mate, who may not be in it with you, right,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
may not be on that transformation road, they're doing this, whether it's male or female. How
Right.
do you stay focused on your process and not, you know, get back into that falling back of that habit of the creator, the relationship that we have created? How do you get people to stay focused on their transformation?
I always invite people to leave people alone, like mind your business. So even if it's
Hmm.
someone you live with, so because when you live with somebody, they can see something's different.
Right,
Mhm. Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you just get tunnel vision. I mean, a person could even say, hey, honey, guess what I'm doing? Instead of saying, we need to do this together, or I'm going to do this, then you need to do it. But it's like, hey, guess what? Like if you were fasting or if you changed your diet in some way, you would say to Jason, so I'm not going to be eating meat for the next 30 days, or I'm not going to be eating
Right,
whatever.
right,
For the
right,
right. So you would give him the heads up. So if he takes you out to dinner, he's not expecting something, you know what I mean? Or if he prepares
right,
dinner for you.
right, right.
So it's the same thing. It's like, hey, guess what I'm doing? I heard about this book, I'm reading it. So for the next 21 days, I'm going to be doing mirror work. So if you see me in the bathroom a little longer than usual, it's because I'm in the mirror, right? And it's because I'm doing my work. So you can give an announcement like that and then just stay on that. And here's what's going to happen for sure. Anytime any of us are on the journey of change and transformation,
Mhm.
then all hell is going to break loose. It's
I
just
was
how
going
it
to say,
goes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
The
So
flood,
that's
right.
yes, the
So
floodgates open.
then that negative talk comes. Well, what are
Oh,
you doing that for?
that life
Yes,
shows up. Everything just come to give you a test.
So the
yes,
person in their house is saying, well, here we go again, right? What do you need to do that for? All this negative talk. So go ahead, what you're about to say. So what do
yeah,
you tell
yeah.
them?
And so you just say, "This is what I'm doing," and honey, could you wish me well? Just kind of get their buy-in but not attacking them and not telling them that when I do this, this is going to happen. Just go through your process. Yeah, yeah. And so when all hell is about to break loose, or is going to break loose, or it's going to do what it's going to do, or they're going to be tapping you on the shoulder and just kind of be in your ear, you're just going to smile and nod and say, honey, I love you. I love you. Just like you're telling yourself you love yourself in the mirror, it's going to be easier to tell it to somebody else when you're telling it to yourself. But
So
also,
I,
let me say this too. You can also use the mirror to have, this is really good. You can use your mirror to have a conversation with your partner without your partner being there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so you could say, you know what, Tina, today when you did such and such, it really hurt my feelings. You can do that in the mirror.
Okay.
And you can notice your own expression,
Right.
what feelings come up for you. And you'll be surprised at how you're able to have this dialogue with yourself in the mirror, and it actually will impact her because spirit is non-local, right? It's
Right.
non-local. So you can speak to her heart and you don't have to be speaking to her face. You understand?
Yep.
So mirror work can be powerful in that way too. Even if you're speaking to someone who's no longer on the planet, somebody who made their transition, you can talk to someone who may have hurt you in the past, what that you're holding on to that. Because let me tell you this, the reason you want to release old baggage and old hurts is because emotional baggage creates dis-ease in the body,
Mm.
right?
Definitely.
When
Yep.
Mhm.
people have cancers and cysts and headaches and migraines and all these
Absolutely.
different things that trouble your body, it's a matter of who's the matter with you, not what's the
Mhm.
matter with you.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So when you get down to it, if you having a heart issue, who in your past how did you get there? There's some person at the end of that.
Right.
So who's the matter with you, not what's the matter with you, is the question to
Oh.
ask.
Wow.
Who's the
Wow.
matter with you?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow. So for those relationships out there that you're
Mm.
trying to change it because you want the other person to change, or you're trying to change yourself, but you just keep getting stuck in the mud, just remember that mirror work works, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It
Yes.
Nope.
works for any person because we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and this is going to help us on that experience. All right, so tell everyone again who you are, a little bit of just a little bit, and then where they can reach you and any of the books or things that you do.
Okay, I am Coach Greta Counts. I live in the Atlanta area, but I coach worldwide. I have clients all over the world, and I coach people professionally and personally. I want to help you to create an intrapersonal relationship with yourself so your interpersonal relationships can be much better. I've been doing it forever and a day. My website is www.mirrorworkworks.com. You can go there. to check me out. I'm on my handles on Facebook and Instagram are at Coach Greta, and I hope to meet you one day soon and get a copy from Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com of the book. And I'm sure you will enjoy it. And the affirmation I want to leave with you is I am willing to let go.
All right. So
Yeah.
Coach Greta also has sweatshirts, t-shirts, tank
Yes.
tops that says self-love. So
Yes.
if you guys are starting this journey and you're serious about it,
Serious.
that's right. Get the book and then
Yes.
get you a t-shirt to remind yourself when you're looking in the mirror, you're on a journey of self-love. All right. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Yes.
Anything else, Jace?
Man, I just wanted to say I love the book. Actually, we
you.
do it as a couple,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But we can't both be in the mirror at the same time.
I
But,
understand.
yep.
But your mirror reflections of each other, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right.
You
That's
know?
kind of
Yeah.
cool. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. So, I love it. Guys, pick up the book.
Yes.
Do some internal work. It's going to change your life. It's going to
Yes.
change the way that you see yourself and your relationships. And that's what we preach, right? We preach about, well, not preach, but teach. Teach about changing yourself so you can change all of your relationship with your kids, your family, your loved ones, your lover, your work, professional
Yeah,
life.
absolutely.
Which sometimes we know we need to repair a lot of those because you're going from job to job, but the relationships are basically the same. So it's a lot of work that we need to do. So, take it from me, pick up the book, and do the work.
Yep. So I know we are also going to have, Reverend Jackie, she's going to have a book discussion on the book on May 21st, right?
Yes.
Yes, and you're
Yes.
going to be there. Okay. All right.
Yes.
So, guys, on May 21st, Coach Greta can be found on Facebook. I think it's at Gold Rush Women's Conference. I think that's what it's
Yes.
under. And you pick up the book and you can come and join in if you found some benefits or if you have some questions or if you have some doubts, whatever it is, join
Yes.
the conversation. Go get the book. Tell us the website one more time.
Ooh, the website is www.mirrorworkworks.com.
All right. So
Yes.
that's
We'll make it's
Mirror Work Works.
Yes.
That's right. All right, guys. All right. Thank you so much, Coach Greta.
Yes. Thank you for
Yes.
having me.
Oh,
Love
it's been
you
a pleasure.
guys. Yes.
Oh, you're part of the family now, Coach.
I know, of course, right?
All right. So hold on one second.
So we have Regina said, thank you, Coach Greta.
Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome, Regina. Nice to meet you.
And then
Lil
Lil
said, hello, cousin. Hey, Lil.
And congratulations.
Yeah,
Yes.
you got your doctorate in divinity.
Yes.
Congratulations on that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I think that concludes for us. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to say it again. You like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And we will be back next week to discuss.
Loving the right way. I think it's loving the right way.
I don't know. It was basically we're talking about.
Oh, no. Loving right now.
So starting to, because I know for myself, I don't want to wake up tomorrow and they tell me it's my last day and I say, well, I need to love more. I need to give more. I need to be more. I don't want to feel inadequate in anything. So my suggestion to everyone is start loving right now. Right? Start doing right now. Start loving right now. Start having right now. Stop waiting to get something or somebody or something to start expressing love. Let's start doing it right now. All right? So that will be next Friday. We love you guys. And as always, any more? Oh,
yeah.
one more? Okay.
Yeah, I'll be sneaking in here at the last minute. They know we're trying to close the door.
All right. Hi, Nancy. How are you? Nancy says, loves the conversation, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
So let's start on that journey of self-love because honestly, self-love changes everything. I truly believe that. If we want, Lava said, hey,
Lava the poet. Hey.
what's going on? So I really truly believe that when we are burdened with so much hurt of the past or just not knowing how to love ourselves, when we turn over that new leaf, I think life just awareness, right? Life just changes our whole perspective and everything just looks totally different.
It does.
Another thing too is, as you can see, I don't like to use Tina and I as an example, but we're still learning.
Absolutely.
We're still educating ourselves. We're striving to get better. That's what it's all about. You're never really going to arrive. So we're just trying to make ourselves better, our relationship better each and every day. And if we find tools or we find books or or programs, we bring it to you guys, right?
Right.
So you don't have to say, "Oh man, I like your relationship." Well, you know what? If you like our relationship, try doing the work to get your
Create-
relationship.
That's right. That's right.
Because that's what it's all about,
Don't
right?
say absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. Creating your own reality, creating your relationship that you want. Absolutely. Good point.
Thank you, baby.
Guys, so that is it for us. That is it for us. And as always,
Hold on, Coach.
I thought so. No more comments?
I think we're good.
All right.
They won't make it this week.
All right. So the dynamic duo is out. And as always, we're in it to win it.
Thanks for watching, guys. Till next week.